think Washington's ever going to get a handle on government waste? Listen to this.
Are there programs that the government does that are a waste of money or aren't working as well as there should be? Of course. But I tell you, if you work in any company in America, big company, you know, you'll find some things that they're doing that aren't all that efficient either.
One big difference, Mr. President. Companies waste their own money. The government wastes everyone's. So, will this number ever go down if D.C. doesn't know the difference? Hi, everyone. I'm Brenda Butner. This is Bulls and Bears. Here they are, our Bulls and Bears this week. Gary B. Smith, Tracy Burns, Jonas Max Ferris, John Layfield, along with Chuck Rocha. Welcome to everybody. Okay, so John, the president doesn't see a difference. Do you?
Yes, I do. And one of the reasons the president doesn't see the difference is he's never been in private enterprise, and none of his advisors around him have ever been in private enterprise. Look, comparing government to what corporations do, corporations have accounting that is transparent. If not, they hear from their shareholders. They have to report every single quarter. Government does not. If you steal in private enterprise, you get prosecuted. If you do it in government, you simply label it pork, and nobody says anything about it. Think about this. How many people, including the president, of those top leaders in D.C. could run GE or Amazon? But could Jeff Immelt or Jeff Bezos run anything in D.C.? Absolutely. That tells you the difference between private enterprise, which is our best in the world, and politics, which is our worst.
Okay, John makes a pretty good case. Chuck, is there a true comparison here in any way?
I don't know if it's a true comparison, but I appreciate his honesty. Was he saying his things being wasted? That's taking a step in the right direction in my sense. I would think so, because the government has taken our money, our taxpayers' money, and done good things with it as well. I know there's people here that will say they haven't done as much good as they could have done bad, but I was glad to see that he says, look, it's run by people. People are not always perfect, and things are going to not always be the right thing.
Yeah, but the difference is, Gary B., that companies can't print money, and they can't just keep running up their debt. And in fact, they have competition, and the government doesn't.
Exactly, Brenda. Chuck found some good in the president's comments. I found zero good. Look, am I going to argue that the government doesn't do any good? Of course they do good, but, give them what, a few $1 trillion a year, they're going to eventually land on something that's good. I mean, with that much money. But, John, right at the start, made a lot of good points. I'll add two more. One, you're forced to give the government money through taxation. And what happens with this inefficiency? They come back and they ask for more money. The inefficient organizations in the government, the agency, they just keep getting bigger and bigger. What happens if a private company, has that much inefficiency? Guess what? They go out of business. They can't compete. So it was absolutely ludicrous. I laughed when I saw the comment that the president made, because it just shows how out of touch he is with what business actually does.
Well, Jonas, some would argue that government does some things that business can't, like NASA, like the military, like building roads, and for that reason, they are efficient there, apparently.
Well, it's a faulty comparison on a lot of levels. It's true. It's a true statement. Look, there's companies that rip off shareholders, waste investor money, blow billions on stupid ideas, are fraudulent. There was Enron. That doesn't, the bad ones eventually fail. There's no self-correcting mechanism in the government. The reason why I think it's a faulty comparison, and I think the president's just trying to tie hatred towards corporate America and like, oh yeah, those are the real bums. You got to compare. Look, they're not going to run. Jeff Bezos is not going to come and run the VA hospital, so we're never going to have it run as well as Apple or Amazon. So that's a faulty comparison. But why doesn't our government run as well as other governments with the things that only governments do? I see, tunnels being built in Switzerland very quickly and under budget, and the whole China being crisscrossed in high-speed rail. And here they've been messing around on the Henry Hudson Parkway Bridge for like what seems like 2 decades. So I don't think our government is comparing well to other top governments, and that's the concern, and that's where the attention should be to fix it. Not so much is it, is the post office ever going to be as good as Apple? No, but it's 30, whatever cents, 40-some cents.
But isn't that the isn't that the problem though here? It's the land of mediocrity. Nobody like Jeff Bezos would ever want to go work there, because he'll go nowhere fast and he'll hit some stupid ceiling. Like, the system is flawed on so many levels, and it perpetuates among itself. You know what? And I say this before, if we had term limits, maybe a guy like Jeff would want to say, hey, I'll give you 4 years. I'll come in, I'll do what I can. can, and then I'm going to go back to my big fat corporation. We have these people, and Charlie Rangel has been in office since the day I was born. There's something intrinsically wrong with that. They are just riding the wave, and it's flippant. And I actually thought it was quite arrogant what the president said, that, hey, they do this too. Everybody wastes money. No, everybody doesn't waste money.
But you know what? We are the ones who vote these guys in. So, Chuck, you've heard a lot about how business is not as inefficient as government. What do you say?
Well, I'm not going to say that government is perfect by any means, but there's a lot of things, and I would also say that government does well. I just want to go back to my original point of that none of this is perfect, and as long as we are holding accountable our government officials, then as long as the American people and the workers are having some kind of accountability, I think it's a good thing. But if there's waste and rampant waste, I think politics will correct itself at the voting booth.
Well, John, is that true? I mean, are we seeing that? And where is the accountability?
Look, in theory, Chuck is right. That's how it should work. They should be held accountable. But who are you going to vote for? Look, you have a 9% approval rating in Congress. That includes Republicans and Democrats. We're voting for the tallest midget here. We are accepting mediocrity. We're saying, okay, the VA hospital is poorly run. That's because, well, we had to elect a person that's not very qualified. We had to appoint a person that's not very good. Why is our bar so low? And why do we accept the fact that politicians are doing substandard jobs across the board? Somewhere America has got to step up and say, we're not going to accept this anymore.
And you know what the problem is, too, to John's point, is that there's money promised back home, right? So, okay, I'll vote for the bum as long as he brings money home for our playground. So the bum's back in again. It becomes that simple, unfortunately, because we live so myopically, and then it just perpetuates on itself.
You know, Gary B., I just want to get back to this point. This money that is being wasted is our money. If Jeff Bezos of Amazon wastes some money, it hurts the company, it hurts the shareholders, but not everybody.
Well, exactly, Brenda. You know, last week I mentioned that when we give money, it goes to the government. It goes through this big inefficiency filter. And, you know, Chuck says, well, you know, they do good work. Yeah, you give them $1 trillion and they come out with $1 billion of worthy stuff. I mean, he's saying, wow, they do good things. I'm scratching my head. Is the VA hospital a good thing? The Department of Education, scores are down. I mean, you know, countless. I mean, NASA is pretty much out of money. I mean, what are these good things that they do that private, you know, industry couldn't do? Social Security broke. Medicaid, Medicare pretty much broke. I mean, so I'm scratching my head about all this great stuff that the government's doing.
Okay, Chuck, go ahead and answer him.
I'm going to answer him by saying I got out and got in my car and drove down a public road that was built by the government. I give the government some of my paycheck every week, and when I turn 65, I'm going to get some Social Security back.
Right.
The internet, the things that everybody's watching on, that's fine.
And roads in this country were originally built by private. The first turnpikes were private. Down here in VA, connecting to I-95 is a private highway. So, yeah, you know what?
Because you won't invest in it, that's why you have backup when you're trying to get to the studio, Gary B. We've got to invest in these things and hold people accountable, or it's all going to go to you-know-where.
But if you want to see the difference between private enterprise and government, look at NASA. Look, we don't even have a space shuttle anymore. We have to rent that out from Elon Musk, who is planning to go to Mars right now. That is the difference.
A billionaire. That's the difference. The people who run successful hospitals in America make millions of dollars a year, and the owners own tens and hundreds of millions of dollars. You can't duplicate that in the VA hospital, that incentive system and that talent pool. We would have to have a system like other countries that make you join the Army for 4 years. We'd have to make managers run these enterprises for a few years as part of their public service. There is no way to duplicate that efficiency. So hopefully,
then how do we get Roosevelt and Lincoln and Roosevelt and JFK? How do we get all those guys? That's what we need.
Yeah, they're not on the JV team. That's for sure. All right, Tracy, last word.
I mean, again, we need to get them out of office and start clean. And it would be a welcome need for this country to bring Wall Street down to D.C. Even just for a little bit. That's all we need.
Okay. Good debate. Thanks, guys.